the max.
To the max.
Just like my podcast.
Fire. All right, world. Welcome back to another episode of Life to the Max. Hopefully things look a little nice with the colors in the background. We're experimenting with the camera setup, and I think we're making progress, Max. I think we're making progress. We got a special guest by the name of Mike Morrison. From my impression, you can correct me when I'm wrong, but you are a scholared entrepreneur, multiple successful businesses, and a talented coach at that. You know, he's an inspiration to the youth, and he creates talent on the ice.
Yeah,
And we're gonna get right in his interview after Max's intro, after the Quad Father's intro.
What up, world? Hey, I know shitty shit can happen to you. When I was 20 years old, I got in a car accident, and I was in the Army, and I thought I was going places, but that doesn't stop me, alright? So paralyzed from the neck down, breathing through a machine, but that doesn't stop me from following my dreams and doing what I love to do. I don't got an excuse, and neither should you.
Let's get into this. Life to the max.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah.
When you walked through the door today, you told me that you listened to a few episodes.
I listened to your first episode, and I got about 4 or 5 others I listened to as well.
What do you think about the show so far?
I love it.
Yeah?
I love what you guys are doing. This is killer.
Very nice.
This is great.
I'm glad that you dove in as a listener first, and then you came on to participate.
Oh, yeah. The way that I was introduced to Max was I know his father, and he was at a party for New Year's Eve. I went to bar for 10 years. Me and my wife did not get out of our bar for New Year's Eve for 10 years. So we were having a lot of fun at this party, and Max rolled up, and I remember checking out some pictures of his shoe collection. So I think the first thing I said to him was, I said, dude, I love your shoe collection.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, when I showed up here, the crowd went wild.
Oh,
The
yeah.
whole party went wild. It's crazy. I felt like I was a celebrity or something. Like, and they like positioned me right next to the band. But it was a fun time. It was a fun time. I was having a good time.
Are you telling me that your shoe collection, Max, is bringing guests on the podcast?
I mean, I guess. Yeah.
That's where it started.
Yeah.
Well, I think his father had brought him to my bar, and he knew about my bar. So it was shortly after that he said, "Hey, I'd like you on the podcast." I thought, wow, all over shoes? Cool.
Yeah.
I got a sick collection myself.
You got,
Very nice.
You got a collection?
I got a massive collection of T-shirts and shoes. Insane number of shoes and T-shirts, yeah. I've got probably 400 T-shirts.
For why?
Are they like vintage T-shirts?
I got a lot of vintage, and I like collecting T-shirts that people don't have. I've never been the guy that goes to shop at Hot Topic or Dick's Sporting Goods, and being a hockey bar and being a hockey fan, I always wanted Blackhawks shirts that nobody had. Same with ball caps. Same thing with shoes. I wanted stuff that people didn't have. I didn't want to look like everybody else.
Well, hopefully before the second quarter ends, you get a Life to the Max T-shirt in your closet.
Oh, I'll take it. I got a vintage on right now. This is Upright Citizens Brigade T-shirt. On the back of it, it says "Don't Think." Comedy troupe out of Chicago, moved to New York City, and a lot of famous people came out of this comedy troupe. And this shirt is probably 30 years old.
30 years old.
So
That's cool.
You're a history fan.
I do enjoy history. One of the things I picked up from the podcast is I think you attended ECC, Eric. Is that correct?
I did.
Okay.
I'm glad you're listening.
When I went to ECC a long time ago, I took more history classes than I needed for credits because I was interested in learning about history. Interesting fact, too, I was the student member of the Board of Trustees in 1991 at Elgin Community College.
Nice.
And I remember people that were in the student senate with me said, "Why are you taking more history classes? You've already got all the credits." I said, "That's the only class that really interests me is history. I like knowing
Sound
history."
like Max.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I love knowing it. What do they say? You're doomed to repeat it if you don't learn from it. So
Yeah.
Okay, so you say you're a true Blackhawks fan, right?
100%.
What is the date that they won in 61 years, what is the date that they won the Stanley Cup in 2010?
Oh, geez, you're going to throw me on the spot with that one. That was a shortened season. I know they broke a record for 24 games without a loss.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was doing a lot of drinking back then because my bar was celebrating big time. But that was probably, I'm guessing that was probably around June 20th?
June 9th.
June 9th. Okay.
Good guess.
Okay. Again, I was drinking very heavily, celebrating every game. Yeah, it was a small bar that we started with, and true story. People loved coming to my bar because I was the only bar in the Chicago suburbs that declared we are an official Blackhawks bar without being cleared by the Blackhawks. Eventually, they gave us that status as an official Blackhawks bar.
Nice.
But my bar was full of jerseys, full of Blackhawks memorabilia. I've got an unbelievable amount of Blackhawks memorabilia and stuff in my man cave at home now. But we used to pack my bar so much people would bring their own lawn chairs. And they would sit between the tables and the high tops because they knew we weren't going to have enough room for them. And yeah, we probably broke the fire code for maximum occupancy. We maxed that out. It's good to max stuff out, Max.
Life to the max.
There you go.
Living life to the
Fire
max.
hazard to the max.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
one
I'm quick
more,
on my feet.
one more question.
Sure.
In 2015, when we won the Stanley Cup in Game 7 against, what team was it? The Lightning. Against the Lightning. Who scored?
Oh, geez, who scored the game-winning goal? Again, Max, there was a lot of drinking going on. Okay, that's a damn fine question because I have the feeling it's not. I could tell you who won against Boston, right? That was an easy one. The Rat got that goal. Oh, boy. All right, tell me.
Duncan Keith.
And the perfect man to do it, right?
Yes, sir.
The perfect Blackhawk.
Now you got to quiz Max with a couple questions. One or two.
See, I could really burn you by going old school. I could go old school.
You could try.
Okay, here we go. Okay.
In
In 1970.
Oh yeah, that's old school.
Okay, see, I knew I'd get you on that one. Were you at any of those playoff games? Did you go to see the Hawks when they were winning the cups?
Yeah, and I always went to the parades. The parades were lit.
Oh, yeah.
I would like go there, and I went in 2010. Then in 2013, I started working out a lot more, and I had like a nice body, and I would just like take off my shirt and like talk to a bunch of girls and like drink a shit ton. And I'm like fucking 16 years old, and I'm just like drinking like a shit ton at like fucking 10 in the morning. But I'm like, I need to be on Kane's level because Patrick Kane is like, what up, Chicago?
What was business like for your bar when they were winning back-to-back cups like that?
Oh, my God. Well, we were like the only Blackhawks hockey bar anywhere in the suburbs.
No, the Walnut was the madhouse on.
I bet they got a crowd, but they didn't dedicate all their wall space, ceiling hangings, and every inch to hockey.
Listen
where,
to
where we did.
You're correct.
Listen to
And I know that there's bars that are great times to watch, big games. But I did some stuff that was really cool and really unique. Instantly, I got goal lights hung up in the bar. I hung them off the ceiling fans. I hung them behind the bar. I got it wired in. So what I would do when the Hawks scored, you know the song they play, right? Say it. What's the name? Here's the quiz.
Chelsea's Dagger.
Okay, you passed your first question.
Right.
I had that queued up on the jukebox, and every time they scored, I would unpause the jukebox so it would take over the broadcast sound, and that the Chelsea Dagger song would go. I'd flip a switch, the whole bar would do goal lights everywhere, and then I took a little handheld goal light and I held it over my head, and I ran down the length of the bar, like 20 people, high-fived everybody, every single goal. I know other places were fun to watch hockey, but I think anybody that saw a playoff game at the Chubby Bullfrog would tell you we had the best spot to watch the Blackhawks.
Did you have a fire horn?
Oh, yeah.
You had one?
Yeah, we actually we had such a loud horn when we got our second location. We had to disconnect it. We had an air compressor set up with the actual like truck horn.
Yeah.
We would stuff like the bar towels, you thick terry cloth towels. We'd stuff them into the cones so that we would dampen the sound because people would literally like crap themselves.
Yeah.
I would literally have to walk around before a game started and warn people like, hey, you look new. I haven't seen you here before. When the Hawks score, I'm going to hit a horn and it might scare the crap out of you. So please pay attention to the game. And we terrified people. It's like, this huge blast.
People are leaving with their eardrums blown out.
So we would actually stuff the bar towels into the cones, and it couldn't even hold back. These things would launch like 15 feet across the bar every time they scored. Didn't muffle the horn at all.
And when they scored, Eric, it went wild.
Big time celebrations. The only other thing that would compare to that was when the Cubs won the World Series.
Yeah.
We were in the first location at that time, and we used to do pretty decent business for the Cubs games. But obviously, when you're playing for the World Championship here, you're going for the World Series. Again, it was like a Blackhawks crowd. People were just stuffed in there, and so my favorite memories are obviously Chicago championships in the bars. A lot of great bands. I'm a big music fan, so lots of good memories. Bittersweet.
Very nice.
That's cool.
Tell us about how things started.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. I'll go way back when I was
70s.
young. I'm going back to the 70s, man. Actually, the 80s. I'm 53. I just had my birthday on Monday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Hey, our birthday just passed too.
Yeah, I heard that on the way in.
Are you an Aries?
His birthday.
I'm an Aries.
We're all Aries at the table.
Let's go.
We are
got
dominating.
fire. There's a fire. At this
Yeah,
table.
there's a
This
fire in
episode might be
Aries.
called Fire Hazard.
There you go.
That's good.
I started in the restaurant business because my parents got divorced. My dad was a jerk. He took off. He didn't pay any alimony. My mom, when I was 15 years old, said, you want Nikes? You want Levi's? Get a job. I thought that was crazy. I grew up in Sleepy Hollow, where we are now.
Wow, nice.
And so I was used to a certain standard of living, and my friends all had parents that were doctors and lawyers, and they all had money.
Yeah, they all had living rooms like this.
Yeah, they were in big houses like this one.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand why I couldn't get Nikes and Levi's. And my mom said, get a job. You're going to learn about life right now. So I started in the restaurant business begrudgingly because I told my mom, I can't get a job. I'm not 16 yet. As I'm looking at her smiling, like, give me some money. And she said, oh, well, we're going to lie about your age and we're going to get you a job where I work. And my mom worked 7 days a week. God bless her. We still have the house in Sleepy Hollow. It's a miracle. My mom worked 5 days a week for the unemployment office out of Elgin and then worked weekends as a waitress. My mom said, get a job and you can buy whatever you want. And so that's where my introduction to the hospitality business started from. And I realized that, I could play hockey and get to my games and go to my practices and I could write my own schedule. And if I worked really hard and I made the servers and the waitresses happy, they'd tip me out really fat. And so at that time, my friends would give me a little bit of heat saying, well, there's a big party Friday night, after the football game, we're all going to this party and you got to work, what gives? And I remember laughing, thinking like, okay, I know some guys in the kitchen are going to run to that liquor store for me. And I'm going to show up to the party with money in my pocket. And I'm going to show up with a case of beer. And you're going to be drunk by then. And any of these late arrival ladies are going to want to talk to me because I got the beer. Yeah. And I learned that it was good money if you worked hard. And I learned that I could write my own schedule. So what I thought was going to be a temporary job in my teenage years, I went back to it when I was early 20s. And it was going to college. I was like, yeah, you know what? I can take a waiter job, serving job, and I can make as much money as some of my friends that are working full-time retail because I'm good at what I do. I can talk to people. I know how to serve people. I know how to make that money. So for a lot of years, I kept telling myself I'm going to get out of this eventually. And there were some different paths I took, but it kind of stayed around hospitality. And So I went from, being a server to being a busboy to a server to a bartender to a manager to working at the Illinois Restaurant Association. I ran programs for a welfare at work program that they ran, and for a thing called Pro Start, which was with the Chicago Public Schools, to where I was responsible for like 11 high schools that ran what we used to call home ec back in the day, home economics. They kind of transitioned that in the late 90s into home economics. They would train people for hospitality jobs. So I got jobs for students that kept up their grade levels and got them into the restaurant and hospitality industry, and a lot of paths from there. I worked for the Illinois Restaurant Association for like 4 years, worked for the Hilton Chicago and Towers for 4 years.
Is this while you were playing hockey too?
I was coaching hockey. I stopped playing when I was pretty young. 19, I had an injury, so I ended up coaching. I was the youngest coach.
Wow.
At the time in Illinois, as a 19-year-old head coach, coaching 15-year-olds. They couldn't distinguish who was the coach and the player. A lot of times I'd walk in a rink and people would be like, yeah, when your coach gets here, let him. I was like, I am the coach. And they'd be like, you're the coach?
Yeah.
They're already chirping at you?
Yeah. That's okay. I could take the flack. It just makes me want to beat your team that much more.
Yeah. It sounds like you've been an influence to people younger than you all your life at a young age.
Yeah.
You started serving. You said you got the gift of gab.
Yeah.
It sounds like you as an individual just, you know how to communicate with people and you know how to influence and direct people. I
think it's important. I think, I spent a lot of time lost in my life, younger years, even adult years. I think it's important because, a lot of people don't have good role models to look at. I had some great high school teachers. Less than a handful.
Teachers are the reason why people become who they are. Yeah. Honestly, like teachers are the reason.
There was less than a handful that I'd say were antagonistic, were not supportive, or basically telling me I had no future if I didn't follow this certain plan. Mm-hmm. You're not going to play hockey your whole life. You're not going to make it to the NHL. You're cocky. You need to focus on grades. And maybe in some regards they were correct. I didn't really focus on grades. And I was a talented hockey player. So I didn't really consider school grades that important. Mm-hmm. But I had some teachers that really influenced me to see there's a different way to go about things. And it's okay to pick your own path. So I always kind of had a dilemma most of my life where it's like, if you don't have good role models, if you don't have people telling you it's okay to be different, it's okay to pursue something that's a dream. If basically you're told stay in the box, and if you're really good, you can retire when you're 65 and, life will be good someday. No, life can be good right now, and you can pretty much manifest what you want in your life. And
right now.
Yeah, right now. Go get it.
Right now. Live life to the max at this moment.
Yeah, I appreciate that you brought that up, because I know, like, as an owner, as a boss, I took on a lot of young people. With the staff that I had taken on at my restaurant, it was really important to me to let them know this is a really good job, and you got a really good boss. My wife and I are really good employers. And you can basically take off of time whenever you want, and this is what we want to do. This is how we're going to do it. I always felt as a hockey coach, as a teacher, as a boss, as a manager, that if I can't lead by example, if I can't show you how to do this, I'm just talking. And so it was really important to me as a coach that if I'm going to ask you to do this, take a slap shot and crank your wrist in a certain direction. Right. Learn to stop and do a snowplow like we were talking about earlier. Like, you're not going to survive without these basic skills. And there's a reason why I'm going to make you learn this, because there's a way, and I've learned the way. And hopefully as I move along, whatever comes in my life, or for all of us, hopefully there's somebody that's been there and can kind of guide you a little bit. So I've always kind of felt like, hey, man, if I can lift somebody up and show them this is how we do it, and explain to them the importance of getting it done, then you can be a great role model and you can impact people's lives. And
it sounds like you take a lot of pride being a role model. Yeah. And you mentioned that there was only a handful of teachers back when you were in high school that were kind of like a role model to you. Did you have any type of role model or influence or mentor after high school, or were you just busy being a mentor to everyone else?
You know, I've always had friends that were older than me, and it was always interesting to me to speak to people that had experience. And so a friend of mine who'd passed away recently, just before COVID hit, Carolyn Gowans.
R.I.P. Carolyn.
Rest in peace. One of the last great parties we had at my bar was a memorial for her. We shut the bar down. We had people flying from all across the country. We had a really proper shindig send-off. Shindig was always a word she used, so I had to throw that in there. But like Carolyn was somebody that was a good sounding board for me. I always liked talking to people that were a little bit older, had a little more experience, been through some BS, and be like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. You know, what would you recommend? So there was a lot of friends that I had. I wouldn't say there was a role model that was a celebrity type role model, but just friends, you know, friends and family.
It's crazy that you bring that up, because the reason why I went to the Army is because I felt lost. I felt like I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm too dumb to go to college. Like, I literally felt like that. And then when I went to the military and I went through boot camp, that's a bunch of bullshit. I went through boot camp, but then when I got to my unit, I met soldiers that I was like, I want to be like that person, and I want to be like him. And they taught me well, and they would like go out of their way to teach me other things that made me a better soldier. So like, shout out to all the mentors out there, and
absolutely.
you know, all the people like you who mentored like kids to you know, manifest what they want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that to me was kind of like a hard lesson that my mom tried to, like, you know, put in my head, was that you've got certain friends that they're not going anywhere, you know, that they're not good for nothing but getting drunk and getting high. I was like, oh, Mom, you don't know. Well, 9 times out of 10, your mom is probably right. You know, she's seeing these people, and I remember just thinking, like, you know, I know there's better. So the people that I'm going to try to emulate are the ones that are winning. I don't want to, you know, talk to the guy who's entertaining me while we're drinking, and then he ain't doing anything in his life. I'd rather sit next to somebody quiet and have a beer and maybe pick up a little bit, ask the right questions. You know, you got to surround yourself with people who are getting it. And a lot of people are just happy with getting by, you know.
I feel like if you put yourself in the position where you're hanging out with 4 unproductive people, you're going to become the 5th.
No doubt.
Yes, sir.
No doubt. You're a product of your environment.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
You had asked me about the Illinois Restaurant Association with the program that I ran there.
Well, I asked you, like, what made you think I want to own my own place?
Oh, okay, yeah. Honestly, people don't even believe me when I say this, because I had spent so much time in this industry. I never thought I'd open a bar. I never thought I'd own my own business. It was strange circumstances that brought it about. I started doing consulting for restaurants. I had a lot of experience, and so they had reopened the Prairie Rock Brewery in downtown Elgin.
Rock, yeah.
And some friends of mine at Ideal Gaming, love you, Ryan, love you, Frank, they gave me a call one afternoon, and they said, hey, they really need some help at the Prairie Rock. And I said, oh, okay. You know, what do they need? You know, we'll set something up. I'll go there next week. And my buddy Ryan says, no, they need a bartender right now. Like, right now? And I had just smoked. And so I told him, I said, well, I'm out to lunch with a friend, so I can't get there for an hour. And I cleaned up, got myself together, went to the bar, and I was like, okay, so you guys need a bartender? Like, what's your systems, blah, blah, blah. I figured stuff out for myself real quick. And I could probably do that at anybody's bar. I could walk behind a bar anywhere in the country and figure out how to get the drinks going and how to serve people and bring it in. So I worked this shift for these guys, and halfway through the shift, they said, we'd like you to be our general manager. Or, pardon me, they'd like you to be the bar manager. And I was like, okay, you know, I thought I was going to be consulting here, but okay, I don't really got a regular gig going on right now. So I started working for them, and it turns out I didn't get along with the owner. I got along with the owner's son. And the owner was in a different field of business. He was a contractor, and he did construction. And he didn't like somebody coming in and telling him how things should be done in his business, even though I'm the one that had the experience in bars and restaurants. And so if I'm going to build a house, I might ask that guy, how do I do it? Where do I start? You know, pour the foundation. Help me out. You know, I'll do it, but teach me.
Can you like explain the foundation of like, you know, bar? Like like are you a mixologist, or like do you know?
I'm an entertainer and a hustler and a quick service bartender. I made a lot of money bartending, a ton of money. And one of the tricks that I would use was I get a group of people together, and I would tell a story. It's like if the three of us were talking at a bar right now. Let's say we had a table off the bar. And I would love it if I could come up and talk to the table and then include the people on the bar in the conversation. So we could talk about hockey. So, hey, Max, you know, you asked me that trivia question about the Blackhawks. Man, you stumped me. I wonder if everybody else knows that question. And I would turn it back to the bar, and I'd look at the people at the bar and say, hey, you over there. He asked me a question I couldn't answer. Can you answer it? And it's just the dialogue that I get people talking. So that now it's just not a couple buddies out. A few of us have such. Now the whole bar is talking
Connected.
about the same stuff.
You're kind of like the DJ at a wedding.
There you go.
Bringing everybody together.
Yeah, for sure. I always thought that was super important. So anyway, my background, and always, like I said, I never wanted to open a bar. I never even thought about it. I was like, shit. Yeah, that takes a lot of hours. It takes a lot of money. I got too much going on. I coach hockey. The year I opened my bar, I had to retire from coaching hockey. I had coached hockey for 26 years. And as soon as I opened my bar, I said, well, that's it. I can't coach hockey anymore. I don't regret doing that. A lot's changed in the world with the way we handle kids. And, you know, I came up with an old man that wouldn't hesitate to use a belt on me. I came up with someone's going to straighten your shit out real quick.
It's a dangerous game nowadays.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good thing you got in the bar.
So when I was coaching, I started seeing what one of my buddies that I coached with, he called it the pussification of America. And he was adamant that we're screwed. This is going back 12 years ago. This guy's like, just see, look what's going on. And he wasn't wrong. It's changed a lot. So I don't regret leaving hockey. But that was one of the reasons I never wanted to open a bar, because I knew I'd be tied into working all the time. What got me into opening the bar, to bring it back in, was the Prayer Rock owner did not like me. And I had disciplined somebody that worked in the kitchen. I was bar manager, so he was just up in arms that I would go off on a kitchen worker. I had a kitchen worker come in to watch the NFL draft who wasn't scheduled to work that night, and sat at the bar and got drunk and made all kinds of stupid comments and was acting like an idiot. And I pulled him aside and I said, I think it's time you get out of here. You've had too much to drink, man. You're acting like a fool. You got to go. Well, he didn't like being asked to leave. And then the owner came back to me and said, hey, you don't manage my kitchen. You don't get to tell. I said, well, if I'm managing your bar, I get to tell anybody to get up off that bar when they're drinking or when they're drinking too much. If they've been overserved, that is my call. So you and I just don't get along. Okay, your loss.
What year were you working at the Prairie Rock?
Oh God, this is.
Because they closed.
They closed and reopened, and then they closed again.
Yeah, shout out to the owner.
Yeah, this is probably. Yeah, I was right. He was wrong. Good story though. So I called my sister and I said, "Oh my God, this old man, what a jerk! He didn't want to listen to anything I had to say. He told me that it wasn't going to work out." I said, "It's a real shame because his son seemed to really appreciate me. His son seemed to know that I knew my stuff." So my sister said, "Don't judge anybody off what their mom or dad says, or what anybody in their family says, or what any of their friends say. Mm-hmm. Every individual is unique. So don't lump him in the same categories as old man." She goes, "If you really like the guy and got along with him, give him a call and just say, 'Hey man, enjoyed meeting you, had a good time.'" So I took my sister's advice and I called this guy. I said, "Hey Matt, you probably know your dad told me to skedaddle." And he said, "Yeah, I told him he was making a mistake, but my old man, he's a hothead and blah, 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 blah." I was like, "All right, Matt, well, I just wanted to call you and say thanks for the opportunity, and it was good to meet you." Well, that is how my introduction to being a bar owner started. Like I said, at that point, I was doing, consultations and helping people figure out how to manage systems in their bars and so forth. Well, she's about a month later, this kid, Matt, calls me up and he says, "Hey, I got an opportunity for you. I know you're super awesome at what you do, and me and some buddies are going to open a bar in West Dundee." Well, West Dundee is my hometown. And I said, "Oh, where at?" Well, he told me the location, and I knew the location was crap. There was three bars.
It was a really bad location.
It was a horrible location. And I knew the location. I said, "Oh, man, there's been 3 failures there. It's probably not going to work out of that location." He's like, "If anybody can do it, you can do it." I was like, "Okay. Well, you're going to do it my way. If you don't do it my way, I'm not going to tie my name to that business because it's going to fail. You don't know enough about this. I know your friends, your partners don't know enough about this." He said, "Well, they're talking about doing it this way," which was they were going to carry 2 types of vodka, 2 types of whiskey, 3 beers on draft, and just generic food that you could buy at a gas station, like taquitos.
Why are you quick to say no, Max?
Because
What's your thoughts?
this motherfucker had frog legs, man.
Had frog legs and gator bite, and yeah. So I stood my ground. I said, "There's no way you're bringing me into this because everybody in my town knows me. They know my background. I'm not going to tie my name to your business unless you do it my way." So my partners are sticklers. So oddly enough, I had some money in the bank, and I said, "Okay, you know what? Let me buy in." I was engaged to be married at the time. I wasn't married yet.
What year is this?
This is 2011, 2000. It was early 2012.
Okay.
So I told this guy, I said, "Look, man, I got money." I said, "Let me buy in. Then you and your partners can shut the hell up because I'm going to risk my money too. So if they're concerned about me getting involved here, I'll put my money up. I'll put my money where my mouth is." So they talked, and there was 4 original owners, and I became the 5th at 20% ownership. And I got in there, and I was just doing the work and getting it done and building a clientele, and the bar was very successful. So in no time,
dude, I have to ask. Like, I'm sorry for cutting you off.
That's right.
But like, what? Like, how do you envision a bar when you walk into a place and it's just completely empty? Like, how do you envision where you're going to put tables, where you're going to put the bar, and it's going to be successful, like that's like, and did you hire the contractor? Just kidding.
That's a tough question because The first thing is I would look at the surrounding area,
Yeah.
not the bar itself. I would look at the community. I would look at what type of businesses exist in the area already. I'm not going to be like the guy down the street. I don't want to be a copycat. I steal from the best, and I'll take everybody's influence of what I've learned along the way. So before I'd even walk in, I'd have an idea of what could work in this area. You know, there's the sports bar down the street, so maybe I'm not going to be a sports bar here. Well, when I got into that space at Chubby Bullfrog, there was no sports bars. And I already knew that I was known as a hockey guy in the community. And I knew there was a whole bunch of Blackhawks fans that were not being drawn into any bars.
Besides the Walnut.
Yep. That's all right. So I basically came in there knowing what the bars that were there previously looked like and how they ran their operations and how it was crap. They didn't have a clue. So two things, if anybody's interested in getting into the bar businesses.
That's why I asked this
question.
question.
Yeah. Here you go. For the entrepreneur out there who wants to go out there and open a bar.
Listen up.
Yeah. Don't copycat, but steal from everybody. Take everybody's best ideas. The most successful bars are a combination of a gaming cafe with video poker and a restaurant with great food. And they've got a DJ night where they got the guys coming in and spinning the hot hip hop. And then they've got a karaoke night and they've got a trivia night. And they're reaching out to get every bit of business from every angle that they can get. The foundation is the food and the service. Those are the two things. If you're not providing good food and you're not providing good service, you don't stand much of a chance. So
you definitely went with the gas station food, right?
No.
I'm fucking with you, man.
I know you are. I came in and when they let me buy in, I said, okay, all your opinions don't matter anymore. You can all talk to me once a week, and get a conference call. We'll talk. I'm on the ground. I'm running the bar, and we're going to do it my way. And so one of the, I tell this to people all the time. One of the things that was also very important, I said, the point, have good food. You better have good food. So one of the things that I had mentioned recently is I had dinner with some friends was that you better serve it the way you'd serve it to your own family, to your own child, to your own mother, grandmother, to your best friend. You're not going to put anything out of your kitchen that you wouldn't serve to your own mom or your own child. Mm. And so I would tell my staff that all the time. If it don't look right, recook it. Don't put out crap food. That was a big sticking point for me, was that if I wouldn't serve it to my own mother and my own family, I'm not going to serve it to a customer.
Facts.
Yeah.
So when I worked at the Walnut, it got hectic sometimes, like super hectic. There would be so many people and so many tables, so much food. How do you become the quarterback and really, become the captain of the ship and make sure everything runs smoothly? Because sometimes the kitchen would be overlooked and then the servers would be freaking out, and then the runners would have to hurry up, and then you got to work on the bar as well, and you got food at the bar, it's just a lot of stuff, or you have to change a keg.
You're not wrong.
How do you say, all right, hey, we're going to do it this way, and this way, and then everything's going to run smoothly?
There are so many things that can completely screw you up in a bar or restaurant. Small example would be a kitchen printer. Many times our kitchen printer just failed to work. And our kitchen staff would be standing around like, oh, there's a lot of customers out there. We're not getting any tickets. What's going on? Oh, we better check the printer. So by the time we figured out the printer wasn't working and got it working again, suddenly now the tickets are 40 deep. And everybody's been waiting a half an hour and we haven't even started cooking their food yet. That scenario is played out in so many different ways where you get caught with your pants down and you're totally screwed. So the greatest possible reply I could give you is anticipation. Anticipate. Wayne Gretzky, his old man would tell him, don't go to where the puck's at, go to where the puck's going. So that same kind of mindset of, what could go wrong. I'm going to figure out everything that could go wrong, and I'm going to figure out every way that I can get around it. So you better anticipate for any scenario. And I mean, God, there's countless examples of stuff that has gone on with the business.
I remember
Yeah.
so much. It was hard as hell sometimes.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
So explain like owning a bar. First of all, I want to know what the Chubby Bullfrog. Where did that come up with? Like, did you guys like come up with a bunch of names and like say, because that's a classy name, man.
Yeah.
Chubby Bullfrog.
The name came from one of the partners, and I guess I didn't even finish this in my story about being the fifth partner.
Yeah.
I'll come back to that. And there's some thunder for us.
I hope the people can hear it. It sounds beautiful.
Yeah,
Thor.
I like that. There's a little lightning out
It's
there.
storming outside.
The name came from one of the original partners, who was the guy who brought me in, Matt Lyons. He was a very large guy. He was 6'5", 300 pounds. So it was a nickname that he was given in college. He went to Northern Illinois University, and they said he looked like a chubby bullfrog in the frat house. So the fraternity gave him the nickname. And then I didn't get on that point earlier, but Matt brought me in, and once our business was going really well, and this was within 6 months to a year, I bought Matt's shares and I bought out another partner's shares. And I fought to buy 100% of the business from the remaining two guys, and they wouldn't walk away. And these were the same two guys that thought, we don't trust this guy to run our business. So when I said, hey, man, I don't need you. You need me. Get out. They didn't want to leave. So I ended up going from 5 partners to 3 partners. And let's just say my partners were a bit of an anchor for me. Yeah, so a young entrepreneur that wants to get started, there's a way to do it. You bring people in and you get a little sweat equity from, being the one running the business. But be careful of who you go into business with, because, one of my partners ended up being a real shady guy. Be careful about who you go to bed with.
I mean, yeah.
So what attributes should someone look for when they're looking for a business partner?
Knowledge, hard work, somebody who doesn't mind following your lead.
Experience.
Either you're going to lead or you're going to follow. So either you get somebody that you want to follow, or you get somebody who's willing to follow. Because if you're going to take the lead, you don't want to get tripped up by somebody trying to,
I like that. Everybody wants to be a boss nowadays, but not many know what it takes to be a boss. And also, people don't realize the roles are important. I tell Max all the time, Caruso is one of my favorite players because he's a bench player, but he comes in clutch. And sometimes, matter of fact, all the time, every team needs a Caruso.
Yeah.
Every team needs that he's not the star. He's not the boss. But when you need him, when the bar's upside down and the tickets stop printing, and, you need that chef that's really going to start cooking and put the blinders on and get shit done for you. You need that person that's going to stay calm and get shit done when you follow your commands.
You need leaders. Yeah.
And
you're not
you
the
need,
only leader.
And you need a
leaders.
vice president. You need the assistants. You need the people that's proud to be the assistant.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
doubt.
And it takes a certain kind of individual to put his ego aside and know his role in the team and really execute his role.
Absolutely.
And I'm preaching to everyone, do some self-reflection and know your role on any team whenever you're trying to dive into any business with anyone. Max is the boss, but, I'm the vice president. I'll be following his orders, but sometimes, I show him the papers like, look, sir, this is Mike Morrison is coming on at 4. Should we set up the good lights?
I think it's important, too, that if you are the boss, if you are the lead, is that you better want to listen to the Indians in the village. The chief doesn't know everything. Sometimes, some great ideas come from people that are beneath in the ranks. We had a guy that worked for us that loved dearly. He came up with some great ideas when the COVID lockdowns happened and we were really up against the ropes. This kid's like, hey, man, did you think about this? Did you think about that? And I had spent years telling him, this is how we do things. This is how we get stuff done. And
All
I
of a
was
sudden he's dropping some knowledge
I
on
was
you.
really impressed when he's like, well, it's not normal anymore, right? This new normal is crazy. So let's start thinking crazy. And I
DoorDash.
totally appreciate it. I was like, wow, okay, you learned that, there's a different way to do things.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, you got to have a good team and a good leader, and a good leader is willing to listen to his team.
Heck yeah.
So most restaurants fail. That's fact.
For sure. Yeah.
And knowing that your restaurant did not fail and was thriving to the point where you can move it to a better location, like how did that make you feel?
I felt great when we made the move. We jumped from like 2,400 square feet to 6,500 square feet, and we had a perfect layout. We put in garage doors out to our patio. We had a stage for music. I had a room for gaming, specifically for the video games and poker. I had a room in back that was specifically for darts and pinball. And it felt great, and I felt really on top of the world. And, well, that all changed when our friend COVID came to visit. So
I went to your establishment, the second one.
Yeah.
And it was a real good time. And I just want to thank you for putting a ramp in, honestly, because not a lot of people do that. Like in the bar, he actually had a ramp to where you could go up to the bar. And most people don't think of that, so my dad's like, yeah, you can come to this bar, there's a ramp. So, and it's right next to me, it's Spring Hill Mall, so I can go like get fucking drunk and then drive around Spring Hill Mall, and I can go back to the Chubby Bullfrog and like drink some more. And yeah, no, it was a real good time.
It's interesting you bring that up, because the ramp requirement was only based on us having the video poker machines up by the bar. So when we were building out, they told me, well, if you put the video poker machines down on the main floor, then you don't need to build a ramp. And one of my older sister's good friends ended up in a chair 25 years ago. And I thought of her. And one of my good friend's wives ended up in a chair 12 years ago. And I thought of her. And I was like, why wouldn't I put in a ramp? You know what? It's going to cost me some money, but I didn't know you at the time. I thought of people like you. Like, why wouldn't I want them to be able to come and sit at my bar, be a part of the bar? Why would I not welcome that? So I appreciate that you appreciate that, because that was kind of a sticking point for my partners. They're like, well, if we just put the poker machines below, then we don't need to build a ramp. And I said, yeah, but that's not really coming to the bar.
And that's a tempting corner to cut.
Yeah, I said no. We're gonna spend the money and we're gonna put in a ramp. And I'm glad to know that you appreciate it. You noticed that.
Yeah, no, I did. My friend who also was in a wheelchair did. People forget about the disabled sometimes. They forget about people that aren't like them, but are like them at the same time, And you gave us the opportunity to enjoy your bar, your new bar that was thriving. And I have like a couple more questions, but the big one is, what advice did you get that like really helped you? Like did someone say, hey man, you should do DoorDash or Uber Eats, or was that you?
Actually, we tried DoorDash and Uber Eats, and I did not like them because they were sticking it to the restaurants and bars. It's a very limited profit margin that you make off of your food in a bar or a restaurant. It's a very tight profit margin. And DoorDash and Uber Eats would be charging the bars an extra 10% just to deliver that food. So that was costly. We tried it for a little while, and that didn't work out. As far as best advice, well, one of the best bits of advice that I'd always gotten was be genuine. be real, because people can smell bullshit. And, if you don't like what you're doing, then get out. And you got to love what you're doing. So I had a friend of mine that was in the bar restaurant business, and he's like, you're perfect for this. Just make sure you enjoy it, because you're a genuine guy. And as soon as you start faking it, people are going to know. They're going to see it. You got to be genuine. You got to enjoy it. It comes to a point after we did 10 years that sometimes you got to fake it, because it's rough working 60 hours a week, 7 days a week. It's very difficult. Post-COVID, I guess the best advice I got was screw them. Screw them. If they don't like the decisions you're making, screw them. They're not paying your mortgage. They're not paying your rent.
Who's they?
They would be the haters, the critics. We locked down and did our curbside pickups, and we did the delivery, Uber Eats and stuff.
Yeah.
We did that initially for 3 months when they locked us down. 2 weeks to flatten the curve became 3 months of, haha, you're screwed. And there's not enough money to be made, even if we extended our hours of business or got double the amount of orders that we got. And we had a lot of support. We had a whole lot of support, but it was still
I was ordering from you guys.
Yeah, it was still 15% of our regular. But you take alcohol out of a bar, and you don't have a bar anymore, and it's just a restaurant. But you've got to pay a rent on 6,500 square feet, and you're not utilizing any of it. It became really difficult, and the longer that the lockdowns continued, the difficulty that I had as a thinking individual was, when is this going to end? And if it doesn't end, I'm going out of business. There's no way I can get through this. And so when I was talking to a good friend of mine, like, if I open back up, I'm going to catch a lot of backlash. At the Illinois Restaurant Association, I ran sanitation programs. I know all about making the health department happy. We always got really high scores on our visits from the health department.
Let's go.
Yeah, we knew that we kept a very clean environment, and that we were doing everything we could to avoid this COVID-19 breakout. And so when we decided to open back up, I knew people weren't going to understand. And I basically, talked to a very close friend of mine. He's like, screw them. You've got, at that point, 8 years of your invested time and money. And if you're not going to be there in a year from now, they're not going to care. And if they're going to criticize you for what you do now, can you live with it? And so that was probably the best advice I got was screw them.
Are you talking about people who are like, pro wearing masks, like pro, like, staying in the house, like pro?
Yeah, those.
Is that what you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about. Those people that would be quick to criticize, to say that, the things that people are saying about me.
You don't care about.
Yeah, they're calling me grandma killers. They call me a grandma killer. Suddenly I became a racist, which I don't know where that came from. I've had many black girlfriends and black friends in my life. I suddenly became a target because I didn't go with the program. So those that were following the narrative that, stay 6 feet apart, wear a scuba mask, and, get yourself quadruple vaxxed, whatever, like that vaccine didn't even come out yet. And I was actually interviewed on WGN. I was interviewed by Chicago Sun-Times, Chicago Tribune, because I took a stand. And I didn't do it in a defiant, hey, screw you all. I didn't do it from a political standpoint. I did it from, I know how to keep my restaurant sanitized and safe. I can follow the CDC guidelines. So if the Center for Disease Control says that these are the rules that the United States has to follow, but Illinois' governor says, no, we're going to keep you shut down anyway. Mm-hmm. I followed the CDC's guidelines. I had people wear masks as they came in the door. I took people's temperatures. I had staff stay home if they weren't feeling well. I I did everything I had to do, but I knew the haters were going to come.
Would you say being on the news like that and getting that attention, was that ultimately a good thing or a bad thing?
Depends on who you ask.
Or was it just eventful?
It was eventful. I mean, I had a lot of people that came to me and said, hey, you got a lot of balls. You opened up in defiance. You're breaking the law. And I had to clarify, I'm not breaking the law. This is an order. This is not a law. Mm-hmm. I would not open up if I was breaking the law because I would not risk the penalty of going to jail or any fines. Mm-hmm. And I had some people that were a little disappointed. I have family members that were disappointed in me. My wife had family members that were disappointed. And again, it goes to that sage advice I got: screw them. They're not paying your bills.
I mean, it's because the country was divided. It's division. It was not vax. It was not like pro-mask, no mask. I mean, it still is bad, but it's not as bad. It's not as bad as it was. But listening to you talking about a small business, and all I saw when I was locked in, I guess, all I saw when I was, hunkered down in my house, all I saw was we support small businesses, and that was Illinois. All we support small businesses, and I was like, it's a fucking bunch of bullshit. There's no fucking way you support small businesses, because my barber didn't get help. You probably didn't get help. Am I correct?
We didn't get enough help. It took us 2 months to get the PPP loans. And we were told initially that when you get that loan, here's the way you have to spend that money. You have to spend that on your staff. This is for payroll protection plan. So we were always creative. There's so much creative stuff. Believe me, I learned a lot on the fly. Mm-hmm. We looked at what was going on with Amazon and, different companies that had employees working, and they were paying hazard pay. Jewel was paying hazard pay. Home Depot was paying hazard pay. Well, I didn't want to give any money back to the government, and I wanted to spend it by their guidelines. So we gave all of our staff hazard pay. So suddenly everybody made a huge jump in what they made. The problem is that we didn't have enough hours of business to actually even give them 40 hours a week. So we struggled to use the money appropriately. We did. We spent it within the time amount that we were asked to spend it in. And then they turned around and they changed the rules. They said, oh, well, no, that money, you can use it over the next year now. And I'm like, okay, I followed your rules.
Yeah,
I spent it in 90 days and I freaking blew it. And now you changed the rules. Why? Because other people are breaking the rules? Because there's people out there that are scamming and stealing money?
Oh man, a huge
amount of scamming going on.
And everyone was getting checks.
Oh yeah.
So your waitresses are already getting checks. Why do you think hazard pay?
Well, because they make their money off of tips. And in order for me to actually use the money as required by the original stipulation, I had 90 days to spend that money, and I had to spend it on payroll. So, knowing that, okay, now my servers and bartenders aren't serving the guy at the bar who's going to leave a 20 spot at the end of the night. Now we're running food out to a car. And, maybe there'll be a $5 tip. And how many customers are we going to get? Is it going to keep my staff working for me? Because Amazon's hiring right now, and people are getting paid to stay home. Let's not forget that. They were getting $600 extra every week to stay home and not work. So I was like, you know what? My staff really loves working for my wife and me. They deserve to get paid. And if I don't use the money for them, I'm going to have to pay it back to the government. And I just want to open my business again. I just want to open my doors. I want things to go back to normal business.
How long did it take to get back to normal?
It never did.
Never did.
It never did. No, we shut down in August of 22. Actually, July 30th, 22 was our last day of business.
Yeah.
I work in an industry now that I know a lot of restaurant and bar owners. I've got a lot of friends that are restaurant and bar owners and bar management. It hasn't gotten any easier. Beyond, initially being able to bring people back into your business, there were supply issues. Suddenly we can't get these products for you anymore. And if you want the products that you were getting, you're going to pay 40% more. So what a lot of bars and restaurants did is they cheated people, and they started giving them these skinny little burgers, and the size of their wings got real small.
Yeah.
And the portions, and this is happening at the grocery stores right now.
Yeah, see a lot of. I mean, there's some restaurants that I loved going to all my life, and I go back now after
They're
COVID,
terrible.
and it's different. It's just
It's
whether they switched management or the supply issues, like you said. COVID really fucked things up.
There's something about inflation that people don't seem to grasp, is that if you're spending that much more at the grocery store, and you all know that, you're going to want to spend for good food, then you're going to need to pay more. Well, the problem is that people somehow walk into a bar or restaurant and they think a burger is only going to cost me $13. That's as much as I'm going to pay for a burger. You don't have a choice but to get a cheaper grade of meat or a smaller portion size on that burger. We did 8-ounce burgers. I never changed the quality of my food. I raised my prices. So people didn't like that.
Yeah.
We raised our prices 3 times in 2022.
Unbelievable.
We reprinted our menu 3 times. And there were some people that are upset. Oh, you're charging this for the... Look, if you want something crappy and you want to spend less money, go anywhere around here.
You're looking at them like, you think I want to do this?
Yeah, right?
You think I want to steal your money?
Yeah.
I'm trying to float here.
Yeah, so there's a lot of restaurants and bars now where there's major problems. It's ridiculously expensive to get the food in. The produce is expensive. Eggs are crazy. People know from going to the grocery store. Prices are insane. Mm-hmm. The other major problem that happened, and I kind of predicted this stuff at the time, was that when you're paying people to stay home, don't go to work. Stay home. Uncle Sam's got you $600 extra. Don't worry about it. You get your unemployment, you're $600. You're going to be great. Mm-hmm. Well, I remember telling people at the time, I said, well, that's wonderful. But, you're getting a big piece of cake from the government right now. Yeah. And you're going to just gorge as much cake as you can. And at some point, you're not going to get that big piece of cake anymore. You're going to get crumbs. And in the meantime, you're sitting home thinking, this is great because I got this huge piece of cake, and all these jobs are going to dry up because people aren't going to work. People are going to go out of business. So you staying home and collecting this $600 bonus, great. Do you think your job's still going to be there when they run out of this unemployment stimulus extra money? Mm-hmm. A lot of people were not working based on that, but they made more money staying home and not working than they did
which
while
is
working.
So fucked up.
Which is, government at its finest, brilliant minds in government. So it was a little concerning for me was, okay, the other thing that started, it's just strange stuff. I'm going to get lost on a tangent here, but really weird stuff. Suddenly, there's these haters on Facebook, and they're talking about how, the restaurant owners have screwed over their staffs forever, and they've only paid their servers minimum wage, and they have to work for tip. Well, you know what? I never disagree to that. When I was 15 years old, I was happy as shit to make $2 an hour and make tips because I made more money than a lot of people did working as a busboy. Mm-hmm. So these people that are out there, these haters on the internet are saying, oh, well, the restaurant industry is a horrible place to be. Horrible place. You get treated horribly. Well, if you worked for me, you didn't get treated horribly. If you worked for me, you were taught how to do it right, and you made a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so when these people started saying, like, it's okay that we shut these restaurants down. It's okay that we shut the economy down. It's okay because working in restaurants sucks. A lot of people left the restaurant business. They started working at Amazon. They started working at the factories. They started working regular 9-to-5 jobs. And so a whole lot of people left the hospitality industry. And to get quality employees now, people are paying. I just heard about a dishwasher position somewhere local, $22 an hour.
Yeah.
$22 an hour.
Damn, I wish I was a dishwasher.
And so that number sounds crazy. What people don't realize, though, is that $22 doesn't buy you what it bought 2 years ago.
No
It's
doubt.
equivalent.
It's you're making the same crap money because they've inflated the money so much,
So fast.
so quickly, and it's all been based on shutting down the economy. And anybody can argue whatever they want that it was necessary. I don't think it was necessary. I think, a quarantine, I'm 53 years old. The definition of a quarantine my whole life was that you got people that were ill and elderly and you locked them away from people. That was a quarantine. You quarantined the sick and the elderly. Quarantine didn't mean you shut down and quarantined everybody. Mm-hmm. The vulnerable people stayed home. And suddenly they're talking about, this is what they did in 1918 with the Spanish flu. No, it's not. No, it's not. There was one city in the United States of America that shut down completely. That's St. Louis, Missouri. And it didn't work out so well for them either.
This is history.
So for people that come at me because they're hearing these talking points about the economy or a quarantine and a lockdown and, all of this was just going to happen. No, we made definite decisions that were the wrong decisions. We're paying for them now. And anybody that spoke out at the time and said, this is stupid, you're not thinking this through, even, again, my own family. I remember my sister arguing with me because I said, my understanding is that there's a 99.8% survival rate on the COVID virus. Oh, that's not true. That's not true. And, it's still too early to tell. Well, here we are 3 years later, and the official number is 99.8. You know what kills more people than COVID? Herpes. Syphilis kills more people. So, make sure you wear a condom when you're wearing your mask and, you do your Tinder dating, whatever the kids are doing these days.
All this COVID talk. Max, what was COVID like for you?
Dude, COVID, honestly, it was the same.
It was the same?
Because I always stay in the house. Do you know what I mean?
Right, but like when COVID, did it affect like people visiting you?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. A lot of people were scared to, visit me, but I still had people visit me. Dude, I went to my cousin's wedding. It was in Wisconsin. We all had 200 people, no mask. Guess what? I didn't get COVID. And we were at a reception. I went to... I threw a 4th of July party saying "fuck you" to the government, basically.
So were you not scared at all?
No, man. I had probably like 50 people at my house.
Not even at first. At first you weren't scared. How about you, Eric? Were you scared at first?
Nah.
No. Okay, you young bucks. You get that like.
Nah, I didn't get a chance to quarantine. I was working at FedEx and everyone was just working overtime. Like I was working the legal limit. I was watching all my coworkers tap out from working the overtime, and that's when my work ethic kicked in, and that's when I was like, yo, I'm gonna be a manager. Right. COVID kind of like gave me a chance to shoot up.
Nice.
My job,
nice.
And then I met Max, and I was like, fuck FedEx. Yo, Max, let's start a podcast.
So going back to it, you said there's 2 pillars to a restaurant. Service and food.
Yes.
And you weren't able to produce the food that people want because of the problems.
The cost.
The cost.
The cost of it.
Yeah.
And basically, what this COVID did was it scared the shit out of people. And I asked you guys if you were scared because I'll be honest, I was scared initially. I was terrified. And I bought the hype, which is unusual because I do read a lot of history. But I bought into the hype initially. And my wife has she's immunely compromised. So
that's why you were scared.
Yeah. So I was
for your wife.
Literally. And so when she said, she did all the office work. She said, well, move my office back to the house. You have to go back to work. We can't lose the business. So you need to keep going to work and make sure that we're doing that curbside business, and you got to keep it going. And I remember telling my wife, I said, I couldn't live without you, so I don't think I'm going to keep the business going. We'll ride it out. And her dad called me and said, you know, she's saying that you're talking about shutting the business down and riding this out. And I said, yeah, because I couldn't live without your daughter. I seriously know, like, she means the world to me. And he's like, how can you say that after 8 years of working 7 days a week? How can you say you're going to lay your business down? I'm telling you, my daughter wants you to go to work. I want you to go to work. Your family wants you to go to work. Don't give up. And I remember just like thinking like, yeah, you know what? If I'm careful, I'll be okay. I'll be careful. You know, people share cigarettes and stuff in the kitchen. They share beers or whatever. I remember going in there like, okay, everybody use your own hitter. You drink your own beer. Mm-hmm. We're not sharing anything. Nobody touch each other. There's a sanitizer. And I was scared. It was for my wife initially, you know. And I remember thinking like very soon after, like, okay, wait a minute. Happening. When is this coming to an end?
Right.
When are they going to stop this? Because now they just keep scaring it. Remember on the bottom of the TV, they showed you how many new COVID cases in your state and how many COVID deaths.
Yeah.
You know, and it was nonstop. We recorded some shows that we watched on the DVR later. And the commercials at the time, they had the same scary music come in, and there'd be some celebrity to be sitting by a pool. Yeah. You know that motherfucker's got like a 6-car garage, and he's got servants that are working, and he's not really suffering. And like they're all talking about, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. And it was just kind of a terrifying time for a minute. Then I got angry. I was like,
yeah.
No.
So to wrap this up, usually we wrap up in a good way, but I want to ask you, how stressful was it during that time, and how did you prevail?
Ooh, boy, the stress was insane. My 50th birthday should have been a big birthday, right? That happened during COVID, April 17th, 2020. And by that time, I thought we'd be wrapped up. You know, we started March 15th, 2020. Mm-hmm. They locked us down. And I thought for sure, hey, we're going to have a birthday party. The bar's going to be back open. How I handle that stress surprises a lot of people because I enjoy drinking. I'm not a drunk. I enjoy drinking. Everybody I know got drunk for that, you know, whole summer, all the way through. I handle it because I got sober and I started praying a lot. I found myself waking up every morning at sunrise, and I'd go outside and sit in my yard and I'd say prayers. I'd say, please God, get me through this. Whatever I got to do, help me get through this. Help me help other people. Help me make sense of this. Help me be strong for my wife and for my family, for everybody that works for me, everybody that believes in me, everybody knows me, everybody loves me. Help me be strong. So I managed by not getting shit hammered, which was tempting. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody I know got really, really drunk. I spent 3 months sober. I don't think I've been 3 months sober ever in my adult life.
And you wouldn't have gone through that otherwise, and you wouldn't have learned about yourself in that way without that.
You had a podcast where you'd mentioned your faith in God, that you believe in God. And, you know,
100%.
I feel that, you know, there's this whole dark cloud over people that don't recognize how powerful God can be in your life. And the thing that, you know, if you can identify as a man or a woman being the opposite sex, you can identify God any way you want. As far as I'm concerned, God is whatever you perceive. How can you deny a creator? You think this just happened? You know, I can tell you that the Bible's right, or the Quran is right, or the Torah is right, or, you know, any religion is specifically right. But to deny there's a creator, I find that shocking. And I think a lot of people are so angry at the world. They want to blame God and they want to blame religion. So it becomes really easy to poo-poo God. And, you know, whether you believe in Buddha or Muhammad or Jesus Christ or, you know, whatever it might be, I think that that's something I'd like to get this message out there, is that spend a little time in your head. Identify in your head. What I would always do is I say, I know there's a creator. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are, but I know this wasn't an accident. This didn't just happen. There wasn't just some explosion of a rock running into a rock and suddenly fish crawled out of the water. Like somebody created this. So for me to hear your podcast before and you talk about that, I'm not going to push any particular religion. I just would ask people to say, can you feel that spirit in you? Can you feel that spirit in the wind? Do you see it in the sunshine? Do you see it in your dog's face? Do you see it in your kid's smile?
I mean, it was storming. Now it's sunny.
Yeah. There's got to be a creator. And that for me was a major part of getting through all of it, was my faith that there's somebody somewhere I identify as God, and I'm not going to define it, but there's a creator, and he's looking out for me. And, I think that's why you've got this opportunity now, Max, is that you're going to reach people. That's your mission from God at this point, is that you've been given some tough circumstances, but you said, hey, what am I going to do? You got a great partner with Eric here. You guys were very entertaining when I listened to your podcast.
Thank you.
I did a little research before I came.
Damn.
But that was one thing that stuck with me. Is I remember you talking about that you had faith in God, that Jesus is your Savior. I think people poo on that way too often. And I think you're kidding yourself. It's real easy to hate God when your life sucks. Why don't you be responsible and ask God for a little bit of help to pick you up, all right?
It's the little things in life.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, what are the little things in life that, you kind of, swept under the rug, and bam, right there, that's what it was.
What's some
Your
little
faith.
things that you appreciate after that storm that you went through, that shitstorm that you went through that you told us about?
My dog, my wife, my music. I got a huge vinyl record collection.
Very nice.
Huge collection of music. And just knowing that, no matter what I've been through, I still have my wife, I still have my dog, I still have my music.
Oh, yeah.
I could lose my house, I could lose my car, I could lose my job. No big deal, because I still have good things in my life. And
Hell yeah.
you know what? I got that stuff by hard work and being determined. And a lot of the stuff I've wanted in my life, I said, hey, get it. Just go get it. So I think that what I appreciate the most, I think, is good people around me, and the love and support of good people.
Did
you, when you lost your restaurant, which, sounds, very morbid to talk about, did you feel liberated or devastated?
Great question. That's a really good question. Initially devastated. We knew the whole year of 2022 that we were sinking. We knew it was over, but I couldn't give up the fight. And my wife just kept telling me, like, you've given it everything. Like, there's nothing left to give. And you can walk away. You made it 10 years. 10 years in the restaurant and bar business is a big deal. Most people don't make it past year one. So it was difficult, very difficult. But did I feel liberated? About a month later, yes. It was bittersweet to give it up. And then once I got used to the idea of I don't own my bar anymore and I'm free, oh my God, I'm free.
Like you got your time back.
I got my time.
Liberation.
Total liberation. That was something that took a minute, and I didn't expect it. And when it came, wow. I forgot that I had a life before I was a bar owner. That was my whole life for 10 years. So to get my life back and to realize that, there's a lot that I can do with my time and have time for friends and family, and,
I love that. I love that. There's always a flip side.
Now
to the
he's
coin.
living.
Yeah.
Now he's living life to the max.
Yes,
Right.
living life to the max.
There's
Indeed.
there's a quote that's been weighing on my head this whole podcast. I know it's been a long podcast, but in the beginning when you were talking about mentoring and whatnot, there's a quote that actually this sits with me for a while, years. It says, if you want to be happy for a week, go and buy a watch. If you want to be happy for a month, go buy a car. If you want to be happy for a year, go buy a house. But if you want to be happy for the rest of your life, make a difference in someone else's.
There you go.
And you definitely made me think about that over and over again when you were talking about, being a good influence and uplifting people and guiding people. The world needs more mentors, man.
And going through like the stress you did and being able to, come out strong, not worry, not look into the past, but look into the future. that's what living life to the max is, man. And it sounds like you're doing it.
Yeah.
It really does.
And bringing people together even when the shitstorm is over,
Yeah.
all of you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so thanks for being vulnerable and telling your roller coaster ride of your past years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
thanks
know.
for having me, guys.
Yeah.
How long do we run anyway?
This was about 90 minutes.
Damn.
I'll be home on time for dinner.
Yeah.
Wife will be happy.
Do
Yeah.
us a favor. Take a look at this camera. You know, say your name and say, you know, my name is blank and I live life to the
You
max.
want me in the mic?
Yeah.
All right. My name is Mike Morrison. I'm living life to the max. You can too.